It is a beautiful Thursday. You know what that means. That means just like what? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We do it every day. We are going to be hopping into some real money fantasy football drafts. We are going to be talking some Dynasty fantasy football strategy, going and answering some trade questions. So, of course, thank you for coming out. I'm not going to waste any of your time. Let me go hop into this draft real quick. Let's pull up this chat so we can start answering questions. And usually y'all can get into these drafts with us, but it looks like we just joined a full lobby, so I apologize. I don't know if we're going to have too many members of the flock in this draft, but still, I'll be happy to go through. I'll be happy to talk some overall Dynasty strategy and answer your questions. And dear God, this looks like it's going to be a very tough draft room. So last draft we did on this channel, y'all saw me crush. Now you're probably going to see me begging for mercy. You're probably going to see some tears on this live stream. But let's pull up this chat. Thank you, my dudes, for coming out. We got Derek, Chow, Jeremy, Shotstopper, Lucky is here, Ryan, Chow, Tony, Z-Millie, Jared. We got a lot of people out here. Let's go ahead, just set up this draft. I know we keep talking about this and being annoying as hell, but I'm doing a million things on the back end here. Just trust me on this. We are picking at the 104. The 104, I'd imagine we end up getting Justin Jefferson. Hell, if we get Cooper Kupp, I'll be fine with it. I'll be fine with either. So let's see this. Our first question coming out from Ryan says, Isaiah Spiller or Tyler Algier? I think you do have to go with Tyler Algier. I mean, Isaiah Spiller, obviously in a great situation. I almost want to say it's up to you. I think they're in the same tier. If we're talking redraft, like the draft that we are going to be in here. No, this is Dynasty. Get out of the redraft mindset, Mason. Get back to Dynasty. Dynasty, I think Isaiah Spiller is the better player. Dynasty, Austin Ekeler was drafted in 2017. Dynasty, Isaiah Spiller is attached to Justin Herbert for the foreseeable future. So we're talking Dynasty. I need to get in that mindset. I think we are going to end up going with Isaiah Spiller, a running back that clearly was massively overvalued coming in. But now, if you're getting him in the middle of the second round, I think that's completely fine. Okay, so Chow asked a question we've answered a million times. How does a quarterback value change if you're going from a 4-point passing Superflex league to a 6-point passing Superflex league? Here, the only adjustment I'm making is I'm going to be bumping up the value of the pocket passing options, and I am instead of going after the Lamar Jackson, going after the Jalen Hurts, going after the Trey Lance, the quarterbacks that we expect to give us the elite production through their rushing ability. It's going to be easier for the Matthew Staffords, the Tom Bradys, the Aaron Rodgers to catch back up on those players with their overall passing volume. So I'll be more willing to push down a Jalen Hurts in a 6-point passing touchdown format and push up someone like a Matthew Stafford. It's not like just you bump up all quarterback value. You don't do that at all. Okay. So Z-Millie coming out says, yo, I traded Clyde Edwards-Helaire and a first-round pick for Chris Godwin and a second yesterday. What do you think? Honestly, my man, I'm not a massive fan of that. I really do like Godwin, but I mean, if you're looking at that 2023 first at the moment, that 2023 first is literally Dynasty Gold. If it's a super flex format, I think most people would have the first round pick in Chris Godwin equivalent. I personally prefer Godwin, but I also prefer Clyde Edwards-Helaire over the second at the same time. So it's not my favorite deal in the world. If it's one quarterback, I'd be more excited about it. Godfather says, what's a good tier down running back to target from J.K. Dobbins and to try to get a 2023 first? Okay, let me pull up Keep Trade Cut so I can give you a long list of options. The first one that comes to mind is going to be someone like Clyde Edwards-Helaire that we just talked about, or maybe a Miles Sanders. If you could go from J.K. Dobbins to Miles Sanders in a first, a J.K. Dobbins and Clyde Edwards-Helaire to a first. Now, I will say it's going to be a lot harder to do now than it would have been a couple months ago. I think now people have kind of zeroed in on those picks and are a lot less willing to trade them. I would also try to go after Jacobs, Leonard Fournette. I would do it for James Cook. Yeah, I think that's a good list of players. If we were going to be looking to pivot off of Dobbins and get one of those other running backs plus a future first. Okay. So far with this draft room, it looks like everything's very standard. It looks like it's going to be a very tough draft, guys. We'll see if I can somehow, some way create a decent roster, but It's not going to be nearly as exciting as our last draft was. Okay, let's find our next question. This next one coming out from Terry says, traded Michael Pittman in a future second for Jerry Jeudy in a 2023 first. Oh, dear God, my man. Congrats on that trade. That is fantastic. I will repeat that one more time. Pittman in a future second for Jerry Jeudy and a future first. I would not be surprised at all this upcoming season if you actually have Jerry Jeudy outproducing Michael Pittman Jr. I think that it's almost neck and neck if you're looking at the quarterback play for the two players. And if you're getting that 2023 first on top of it, that's a no-brainer, my man. Okay, now our next question coming out from Graylin says, hey, Mason, 12-team Superflex, half PPR format. Are we going to go Jalen Waddle or a future first? We're going to go Jalen Waddle. I mean, with Jalen Waddle, yes, I understand he's in a very bad situation this upcoming season, but he was dominant last year. I will go ahead, and I know I've talked about this a ton, but I will pull up my 2022 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Not available yet. I promise you I'll let you know the second it's available, but I have written a lot of these chapters. And with Jalen Waddle diving deep historically into how impressive his rookie season was, keep in mind, yes, he was a fourth-year player. He stayed all 4 years at Alabama. Keep in mind, yes, with Jalen Waddle at the same time, this is a wide receiver that did not have too much target competition, but hell, he was playing with Tua Tagovailoa. That should count for something. We should at least give the man credit where credit's due. And Jalen Waddle, if I can find this in just 1 second. Okay, here, let me make our selection first. We're going to go Barkley. Jalen Waddle had 7.7 targets a game, 63.4 receiving yards a game, and the only other rookies to do this since the year 2000 were Odell Beckham Jr., Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Julio Jones, AJ Green, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, and Jalen Waddle. Like, Jalen Waddle looks legit. I don't see a reason for going through and moving off of Jalen Waddle right now for a 2023 first straight up. So no, please keep Waddle. And real quick, as we take Saquon Barkley here, I'm actually starting to get excited about this team. And I know 9 out of 10 people watching this live stream, they already know, but I got to say it for the one person who doesn't. If you don't know where we're drafting on Underdog Fantasy right now. You can find the link in the live chat, find it in the description of the video. On Underdog Fantasy, we draft here every single day. Real money fantasy football drafts. You can get in a draft with us in the live stream and go get in a draft in a public lobby. Go draft with your friends, whatever you want to do. And it's a ton of fun. When you sign up and use promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Please take advantage of that. You also get my Dynasty rankings, Dynasty rookie rankings, Dynasty rookie draft guide. Support the channel. Please find that link in the description. But let's move on to our next question here. This one's going to be coming out from Jeremy. Says, did you see the Deshaun news today? Buy low window is closing. Okay, so let me pull this up. Y'all know I have been talking about trading for Deshaun Watson on the cheap this offseason. Now, I will admit, as of late, looks like people have been clowning on us. As of late, looks like it's not going well. I cannot find any Watson news from today. It's still in the range of outcomes. The man suspended for an entire season. Beyond that, I don't think so, just given the fact that this team decided to trade through 3 first-round picks and then pay him the most guaranteed money in NFL history. I'd go, okay, well, if an entire organization's willing to do that, I think the probability is suspended for more than a year is almost 0%, which I stand by that statement. But maybe we'll build this draft here as a Deshaun Watson team. Okay, so Jaden says, who wins this trade? Josh Jacobs, Mike Williams, and Jimmy Garoppolo for the 110 2023 first and a future second as well. Okay, I think we could say Jimmy Garoppolo probably worth the second. If we're looking at that 110 versus Josh Jacobs, that's going to be like either Sky Moore, Christian Watson versus Josh Jacobs, 2023 first versus Mike Williams. I think it's a very fair deal. I really do think it comes down to if you're a rebuilding or a contending roster. I don't necessarily think there's a clear winner in that trade. I just think it makes sense for both parties. Okay, so Dion says Jalen Waddle or T. Higgins for their dynasty value. My opinion, it's not even a question. You're going to go T. Higgins. Yes, we just got done talking about how damn impressive Jalen Waddle was his rookie season. But at the same time, if you're looking at T. Higgins, this is a wide receiver that was a low-end wide receiver 1 last year on a per-game basis at the same age with Jamar Chase already inserted in this offense. And he's attached to Joe Burrow for the long term. Obviously, Waddle's situation has gotten worse as of late. And please, for the love of God, don't make me take Sutton. Sutton goes. I wouldn't have taken him regardless. We are going to end up getting Darren Waller here. I'm actually very excited about this draft. I got nervous. I thought people in here were going to be able to come out and crush us. But getting Darren Waller at pick 45, when we saw this team here at the 111 take both Andrews and Kyle Pitts, possibly skewing the tight end market in this draft a little bit, I'm excited about this start so far. Now, our next question coming out from Jared says, Pickens and DeAndre Swift or Brandon Ayuk, Saquon Barkley, and Irv Smith Jr. Ooh, interesting deal. I would say most people are probably going to prefer the George Pickens and DeAndre Swift side, but I think it's a very fair trade, and I think it's up to you. Okay, so Bobby says 10-team, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 2 flex, 1 super flex. I have the 102 and the 105. If I take Garrett Wilson at the 105, should I look to move off of Elijah Moore, like trade him for the 106? And if I swear to God, we answer the same question in every single live stream. I think we answer this question in every single live stream. No, you should not be worried about having teammates from the same offense. No, you should not be worried about that at all. You are building correlation. You are making one concentrated bet saying, okay, I'm betting that the overall market's wrong, that the New York Jets are going to be more productive and more efficient overall. And if you are right in that bet, not only do you profit with Garrett Wilson, but you're also profiting with Elijah Moore. So honestly, I am not a big fan at all of going through and thinking that you need to trade a player just because you drafted his teammate. No, please do not think that way. Okay, so we're going to take Lamar here in the 5th. Now our next question coming out from Jay Husky says, a Dynasty Superflex 12-team league, Jamar Chase for Deebo Samuel and 2 2023 first. I think it's a fair deal. I personally would probably take Deebo Samuel and 2 2023 first. Now, with Jamar Chase, he's a cornerstone player you build around for the long term. But at the end of the day, Deebo Samuel was the wide receiver 3 last year on a points per game basis. He was drafted in 2019. Like at the time of this live stream, he's still on his rookie contract. So even if we expect regression from Deebo Samuel, if you're getting that production from a player that's not too old and at the same time, you're getting 2 future firsts where you can just make some plays with those picks during the season. I really like that idea. Evans coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Says, who wins this trade? Justin Fields, Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, Darnell Mooney, a future second for Deshaun Watson, 2 2024 first, and Chris Godwin in a 10-team PPR Superflex format. My running backs currently are Barkley, Travis Etienne, and Cordell Patterson. Okay, I easily prefer Deshaun Watson over Justin Fields. If you're here in this live stream and you think otherwise, I'd love to know your opinion, but it's wrong. It's wrong, okay? You prefer Deshaun Watson over Justin Fields. And then beyond that, if we're looking at the 2024 first versus Akers and a 10-team Superflex format, I think that the pick is equivalent to Cam Akers, or maybe you can say the 2 2024 firsts are equivalent to the combination of Akers and Darnell Mooney. And there you should prefer Godwin as well over Darrell Henderson and the second. So easily, we're going to go through with the Deshaun Watson side of that deal. So we're going to trade Akers, Justin Fields, Darrell Henderson, Darnell Mooney, and a future second for Deshaun Watson, 2 future first, and Chris Godwin. Easily, my man. Okay. Real quick, in this draft, you have McLaurin falling to pick 56. Very interesting there. Let's find our next question. This next one's going to be coming out from King. Says, is Treylon Burks worth acquiring for a 2023 first? Yes, it's up to you. It's up to you. If it's Superflex, I'd be less excited about it. And a 1 quarterback format, I would be more. Jeremy says, Watson, Brissett, and Adam Troutman for Kyler Murray. Okay, Adam Troutman and Jacoby Brissett are literally like pennies. It's like you're going on the stock exchange or something, and you're like, hey, do you prefer to have a share of Apple or Microsoft? Or how about this? Would you rather have Apple or Microsoft and this old potato chip I found under the bed? The old potato chip under the bed means absolutely nothing. Okay. So when we're looking at a deal like this, it does come down to, do you want Watson or do you want Kyler? And I will say, back immediately after the trade, I was very inclined to just say, F it. Deshaun Watson has shown us a floor and ceiling combination Never before seen in fantasy. Now you have to go Kyler Murray. It's easily going to be Kyler. And it looks like if Jalen Hurts falls, we maybe made a mistake in taking Lamar Jackson in the 5th. But let's find our next question. Chow says, my only question for the day, no more spamming it. Okay. I'm assuming we already answered yours. If you said, how would you value the top quarterbacks versus the middle tier? Like I already said, with the 6-point passing touchdown format versus the 4-point passing touchdown format, I'm not dramatically changing how we are going to value those. Oh, this is brutal having to pass on Jalen Hurts. I'm not necessarily changing how we are going to value the quarterback position overall. What I'm changing is the prototype of quarterback that we are going to be going after. I'm going to be going after the pocket passing options in a 6-point format that don't have rushing upside if we believe that we can get a discount on those guys. Like in a 6-point passing touchdown league, that's where I'm going to be going after Derek Carr. That's where I'm going to be going after Matthew Stafford. In a 4-point passing touchdown format, hell, go give me Lamar. Go give me Jalen Hurts. Now our next question going to be coming out from... Sorry, can't find the name. I did see the question. Jeb says, what's Joe Mixon worth in Dynasty? Very broad question. I'd say if we have to pin him to pick, whether that's a 2022 pick, a 2023 pick, I'd say he's worth a 2023 first and second. If we're looking at that 2022 class, then I would say he's worth about the 104 to the 105. Okay. So now let's find our next question here. This is coming out from Connor. Says, Subflock got the 103 in a Superflex / tight end premium startup. Have Allen, Mahomes, Justin Herbert. Should they be my only considerations? Yes, 103. There's a clear drop off after the either Mahomes or Herbert. Most people are taking Herbert at the 102 now. I still think I'm interested. And holy crap, y'all got to spam the chat right now. Did something happen with Jalen Hurts? Did something happen with Jalen Hurts that I don't know of, making him fall 13 picks in ADP? Especially when we go to Devontae Smith in the last round. Obviously, if I could go back into time machine, I am going to not take Lamar Jackson, and instead I would have taken Terry McLaurin with that selection. Hopefully, I'm not punting here by taking Jalen Hurts. Oh, dear God. Getting the 2 elite rushing quarterbacks here at a value. I'm so excited about that in a best ball format. Let's get Jalen Hurts. Pick 76. Obviously, we are done drafting quarterbacks now. Who took A.J. Brown? Okay, so this team on the turn decides to pass on Jalen Hurts in favor of Brandon Ayuk and Michael Thomas. Interesting. If I had A.J. Brown there, I'm smashing Jalen Hurts. Okay, so now let's find our next question. This one's going to be coming out from Bobby. Says, hey, Mason, so in a 12-team Superflex tight end premium startup, I'm not targeting them by any means, but if I end up with some of the older vets early, what players in the first 2 rounds would you lead if you go with to build around a win now team? Okay, so this is a very good question, and that I try to stay fluid through the first couple of rounds of a startup draft, and that if you're talking about those guys going round 1, round 2, you're going to be looking at, say, a Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor, good players, or A.J. Brown, T. Higgins in the later rounds. Good players that are exciting to take because you could go with someone like T. Higgins, right? You could take T. Higgins round 3 year startup, and you could then just stay flexible with your draft in the middle rounds with either a rebuilding approach or a contending approach. You could say, okay, well, we went through, we just took T. Higgins in round 3, but dear God, we just somehow, some way had Drake London falling to us in round 5 or 6. We're going to take London here, and all of a sudden we're going to play for 2023. Then I'm going to try to accumulate 2023 first. However, there are a couple of those players, like a Christian McCaffrey is a good example. A Cooper Kupp is a good example of these guys, or Diggs or Devontae Adams. They're not going as high anymore, but those players that if you were to take them in rounds 2, at the beginning of round 3, then you're locked in to going with a contending build. So I'd say the main name that I think right now, because I'm not taking Christian McCaffrey in the top 2 rounds of startups, I would say if you get Cooper Kupp in round 2 of your startup draft, I think you have to push to win now, because it is crazy to say this. Cooper Kupp was drafted in 2017, but Cooper Kupp's pretty freaking old. Cooper Kupp is 29 now, which is unbelievable to think about. Literally, Cooper Kupp's 29. Juju Smith-Schuster was drafted in that same exact draft class, and Juju is 25. Like, crazy to think about. Okay, so now we are on the clock. Good thing we got some of those quarterbacks going. Ooh, we can just easily take Hunter Renfrow here. We have a solid team in this draft. Solid team in this draft. We have a donation coming out from Steven. Thank you, my man. It says, sold Chris Godwin for the 105. What are your thoughts? It's a one quarterback contract league. Godwin was expensive and I'm in rebuild mode. Who should I eye at the 105 and the 107? Okay, so this is definitely a different question with this being a salary cap contract league. I would say that the Chris Godwin price point is exactly the 105. Like if you're looking at Chris Godwin, it's right at that teardrop where you're going to have the Garrett Wilson, where you're going to have the Treylon Burks there at the 105. Now, if you're playing in a contract format and you said Chris Godwin was expensive and you're going to get one of those players on their rookie deals, obviously you're going to prefer the pick in that instance, and it's not going to be close, especially with the rebuilding roster. Now, what I would say is when we have the 105, you're not really going to have the option of who you want to go with, because you're just going to be looking at whoever's left over between Breece Hall, Drake London, Kenneth Walker, Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks. Now, because it's a contract league, there I would be more willing to go with the running back if Kenneth Walker were to fall to the 105, knowing that we should expect that running back production front loaded and on that rookie contract that is going to be highly valuable. And at the 107, same thing. I think you're going to be looking at wide receivers. I would be looking personally at Chris Olave. If Olave is not there, I would be going with Jameson Williams, but I'd imagine Chris Olave is going to be there. But thank you, my man, for supporting the channel. We have another donation question coming out from Store. It says, what is Kyler Murray worth in picks? 12 teams, Superflex, full PPR. I gave up the 101, 107, and a projected late 2023 first. Is this an overpay? My man, I'm not going to lie to you. I do think you went and overpaid. Now, I like the idea of overpaying for a player like Kyler Murray. It's hard to say that you ever overpay for a player like Kyler Murray when he's going to be that cornerstone asset that you can build around for a very long time. But if we're being realistic here, if you traded Breece Hall, which is that 101 pick, you traded Breece Hall, the 107, say Chris Olave, and an additional 2023 first, I don't care if the pick looks like it's going to be late right now, that's just too rich, because most people at this moment could take that 101, aka Breece Hall, and flip it for a late first, could flip it for the 106 and a 2023 first, flip it for the 108 and a 2023 first. And all of a sudden, if we're looking at trading 4 first-round picks for Kyler Murray, it's just so difficult to do from a roster construction standpoint. It really does handicap you in the moves you can make during the season. So personally, I'm not a massive fan of it. Now we have another donation question flying. KG makes you quit. Thank you, my man. It says a 12-team Superflex Dynasty for both 1 2023 first, 2 2024 first, Cooper Kupp for Jamar Chase and a 2023 first. Okay, so I think this is broken down. I'm just trying to figure out how this is broken down. So 2023 first, 2 2024 first, and Cooper Kupp for Jamar Chase. I think that's how it's broken down. Please, my man, I'm going to give you about a couple minutes to retype that question. I don't know if that's 2 separate trades. Could you please retype it in the general chat and I'd be happy to answer it. I'm going to answer a couple questions, then get right back to you, but it's a little confusing right now. Let's find our next one. Jeff says, will J.K. Dobbins be a running back 1? Going to be right there on the verge. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins led the NFL in yards per carry for the running back position his rookie season. You also had Gus Edwards in the top 10 for yards per carry, so it's not that J.K. Dobbins is the best running back in the NFL. He's a very good running back, and Baltimore is a highly efficient rushing offense, given the offensive line, given the coaching staff, and most importantly, Lamar Jackson. And with Dobbins, I am more hesitant to say that he is going to be a running back 1 based on the actions that the Baltimore Ravens have taken this offseason. They went out there, and remember, they tried to sign Melvin Gordon. They went out there, and when they didn't get Melvin Gordon, they did sign Mike Davis, indicating that, hell, just like we saw his rookie season, they probably want to keep this a committee backfield. Now, if I was Baltimore, that's what I would look to do and continue to be one of the most dominant rushing teams the NFL's ever seen. But I would be more excited about Dobbins being a top 12 running back in a non-PPR format or a half PPR league than I would be in a full PPR one. What the hell? This team takes Hawkinson, Zach Ertz, and Dallas Goedert with their 3 picks here. Interesting. Let's go find our next one. Bobby says, how should my view of the 2023 first round picks change if I know the league ends 3 seasons from now? If you know the league ends 3 seasons from now, yes, you should place less of an emphasis on those because, hell, you only have that player for their rookie year and then their second year. Like, Jamar Chase is a whole lot less valuable if you know you only get his rookie season production and his sophomore season production. So, yes, you should value those picks less. Okay, let's pull this up real quick. Just figure out who we're going to draft. So far with this team, I actually really like this team. I don't love Sky Moore, but Sky Moore fell 11 picks past his ADP. I feel like we have to take him there. We have Lamar, Jalen Hurts at quarterback, DeAndre Swift, Saquon Barkley at RB, Justin Jefferson, Devonta Smith, Hunter Renfrow, Sky Moore, and Darren Waller at tight end. Christian Watson goes. Okay, so we're going to take the last running back in this tier. In my opinion, we're going to go ahead and take Chase Edmonds. Looks like a crowded situation at first, but you also have to look at the fact that they're probably going to move on from one of Myles Gaskin, Raheem Mostert, or Sony Michel before the season starts, and that should open things up. Okay, let me go back and try to find that question that we had from KJ. Okay, so KJ had this one. Okay, for Jefferson, basically 2 deals. Okay, the first deal is Jamar Chase for Cooper Kupp, a 2023 first, and 2 2024. Oh my God, my man. Yes, you are dramatically overpaying for Jamar Chase here. Let's repeat this. It's 3 future first, which is almost equivalent to Jamar Chase. Some people would argue in a Superflex format, it is equivalent. And then you're adding Cooper Kupp onto it. So you're getting the long-term value as well as Cooper Kupp will probably outproduce Jamar Chase this upcoming season. Yeah, no, my man, that one's going to be the Kupp side relatively easily. And then let's find the second question that you had. Yeah, you said you were getting the Cooper Kupp in. Great deal on that one. And the other deal is Justin Jefferson for a 2023, 2024, 2025 first-round pick, George Pickens, and Darnell Mooney. If this is just a pure thought exercise, if we are just playing make-believe, and I'm not going to go on a little rant about how your league shouldn't allow you to trade for 2025 first and how I am worried about the league overall. If this is just pure game theory, you know this league's going to be around forever. I think that we are indeed just going to suck it up, and I think we are going to end up taking the package because you could, in theory, flip Darnell Mooney and George Pickens for a future first in their own right, and then you're asking me Justin Jefferson or 4 future first. The only player that I think you can make an argument that's worth 4 future first in a 12-team Superflex format, maybe you could make the argument for Allen, Mahomes, and Herbert. That is it. And I'm not even saying I would rather have Allen over 4 future firsts. I think it's a conversation you could have, but definitely I would not rather have a receiver or anything of the likes over them. Okay, and Fizz coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man. Says, would you trade Justin Jefferson for 2 2023 first? That's where I think we draw the line. We say, yeah, Justin Jefferson, the stud, is going to be worth the 2 2023 first. I would keep Jefferson regardless of if it's super flex or not. Kaepernick coming out and says, 10-team half PPR super flex. Thinking about trading London and George Pickens for Christian McCaffrey. Am I crazy? I'm a contending roster. My man, I actually really like this. I want to go into why it would be better to make this trade in a 10-team format compared to what it would be in a 12-team league. Because if we're looking at a 10-team league here and we're looking at someone like George Pickens, for example, how likely is it that George Pickens would actually affect your win rate, where we know in a 10-team format, it's going to be very easy for you to find someone like Van Jefferson, for you to find someone like Tim Patrick, find someone like Michael Gallup, Jarvis Landry, that you can easily slide into your flex spot if you need to. But 9 times out of 10, those players in a 10-team format, unless you're starting 11 more guys, are not even going to be start worthy outside of occasional bye week flyers. And we can look at the same thing with Drake London. While Drake London may be able to become a weekly starter for you, for him to actually affect your win rate in that league, it's going to be significantly harder than, say, this is a 12-team league, you start 11 or 12 guys. There, you need to project London and Pickens to be an every week starter for you. They are a lot less replaceable, but in that 10-team format, the shallower league overall, I'm going to be willing to bet on the player that if he can stay healthy, he is going to dramatically alter our win rate. He is going to change the course of our season. So in a 10-team league, hell yes, I would trade Drake London and George Pickens for Christian McCaffrey. Okay, so let's go find where we left off with the questions at the top before we got to those donation questions. I think our next one's coming out from Jeremy says, Mason, how concerned are you about Treylon Burks? Are we buying or selling? Okay, I've answered this in the past few live streams, but I still get comments about this. So I need to go through and say this. Treylon Burks is a grown man. Treylon Burks went through, played an entire career at Arkansas. Let me pull up his counting stats. You know, usually I never look at counting stats. Usually I only look at per game snaps. Per game stats. Usually I only look at per routes as well, but hell, this is going to prove the point. So Treylon Burks is a wide receiver that at Arkansas, his freshman season, went out there, played 11 games. His sophomore, he went out there, played 9 games. His junior season, he went out there, played 12 entire football games. He had 66 receptions, over 1,100 receiving yards in a very bad offense. He had almost half the offensive production. Like, think about it. You're a wide receiver. You have almost half of your receiving yards on a per game basis in the SEC. And now people are concerned about the man needing to step back from practice. Well, one practice. We see a tweet about this. And everybody goes out there and loses their minds. Please, please, please. Look at the fact that we had an entire collegiate career from Treylon Burks. Do not hyper-focus in on one practice and ignore everything that we have seen from the man. No, I'm not concerned with Treylon Burks at all from training camp. Not at all. Okay. So Matt Ryan, pick one for, I guess we go Alexander Madison. Hopefully nothing's changed with Madison's situation. Now we are done at running back. We're going to go ahead, probably take one more tight end and then just hammer in receivers from here. We are 6 picks away. Hopefully we get one of these tight ends. I can cue this up. I don't think too many people are actually in this draft watching this live stream right now. But let's scroll this down. Find our next question. We have another donation question coming out from Alex. Thank you, my man. It says, Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs for 2 future first, Deebo Samuel and Matt Ryan. I'd get the Josh Allen side, 12-team Superflex format. I only have 2 future first, and I am not competing this season. If you're not competing this year, I really don't like the idea of going and trading our future first, especially for a win now wide receiver like Stephon Diggs. But you are getting so much value in this deal that you have to make it. Like, I'm hoping that one of these firsts is not yours, because if you're telling me that you're a rebuilding roster, that you are likely to get the 101, you are likely to get the 102, then it makes it so much harder to trade away your own first. And what I would do in that scenario is I would counter and say, hey man, I need to keep my first, but I'll trade you the other one. I'll trade you Deebo Samuel just for Josh and Matt Ryan, just for Josh Allen. You can keep Stephon Diggs, because Stephon Diggs, it's not going to help you in that scenario. You want to keep your first round pick, but you have to make that play for Josh Allen overall. Okay, so now David coming out says, I sent Saquon Barkley for the 207, a future first and a future second in a 10-team 2 quarterback half PPR format. What are your thoughts? 10-team 2 quarterback format. I am fine with it. I personally would probably lean with Saquon Barkley. I'm not willing to throw in the towel with Barkley just yet, but it is definitely a fair deal. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's take Cole Kmet. Now we are only drafting wide receivers through the rest of this draft. We are only taking receivers through the rest of this draft. I will go through, show you all this draft board, because I know some people, maybe 1 or 2 people in this live stream will care about it. We took Jefferson round 1, Swift, Saquon Barkley, Darren Waller, Lamar Jackson. I would have passed on Lamar Jackson in favor of Terry McLaurin here if I knew that Jalen Hurts was getting back to us at pick 76. I would have taken Hurts at 69, but we get lucky. We get Devonta Smith at 69. We get Jalen Hurts for the stack. Hunter Renfrow 93, Sky Moore pick 100, Chase Edmonds 117, Rashad Penny, Alexander Madison, and then Cole Kmet. So from here, we are definitely weak at wide receiver, but hell, I love the structure we have so far, and we're going to be able to stop at 2 quarterbacks. We're going to be able to stop at 2 tight ends and 5 running backs. So we will be able to just go ahead and slam wide receivers after this. Okay. So now our next question from William says, just traded Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson for a first, 3rd, 4th, and a 2nd round pick. So essentially you traded for an entire draft class and moved off of Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. I really like it, because if you're looking at this New England Patriots backfield, while yes, this is a team that has gone out there and shown us that they want to run the ball more than anybody else in the NFL, at the same time, we can be realistic and we can go, okay, well, this is an offense that has never really shown the desire to only use one running back. This is a team that decided to go out there and draft 2 RBs in this year's NFL draft. So yeah, I like the idea of making that deal. Matt says Hunter Renfrow in a projected late 2024 first. My man, it is so hard to know what is going to happen this season for you to project what's happening this season, the next offseason, and the next season to try to figure out where that rookie pick is going to be. No, it's not a late 2024 first. We should be looking at it as a 2024 first. So Hunter Renfrow in a 2024 first for an early to mid 2023. No, Hunter Renfrow and a 2024 first or a 2023 first and the 204. The 204, you could potentially be coming away with Jahan Dotson, George Pickens. So yes, I would be fine with that deal. Okay. Ty Miller says, how different does your draft strategy change when it's a standard ESPN format? Okay, so I'm assuming when you say standard, you mean non-PPR. If it's going to be a non-PPR format, I'm going to be a lot more willing to just go out there, pay up for an elite quarterback, pay up for an elite tight end, grab a couple of elite running backs. And in a non-PPR league, the wide receiver position inherently is going to matter less because you're going to have a smaller percentage of your starting lineup points accounted by the wide receiver position. And also, tight ends derive the majority of their value from touchdowns. Quarterbacks, obviously, it being a non-PPR compared to a regular PPR format, that's not going to affect their points per game where you should see that massive drop-off with wide receiver in particular. So essentially, I'm going to care a lot less about the wide receiver position in a non-PPR format. Okay, so let's go ahead and find our next question here. Jeremy says, only 2 likes in the live stream. Step it up, guys, my man. We have over 100 likes in the live stream, but thank you. William says, I know you love Lance, but if you had to stack him with Kittle or Debo, which is better in your opinion? I personally value Debo Samuel more in Dynasty. Now, I will say if I had to just talk from a natural fit perspective, I am very worried about the quote-unquote stack of Debo Samuel and Lance, in that I think you will see Lance cannibalize some of Debo Samuel's value, and that you're looking at Debo Samuel as a player that drove so many points from the red zone, specifically those rushing touchdowns last year, that if we see a step back from Debo overall, that is going to be concerning. And also, seeing George Kittle, Trey Lance hang out together nonstop, that is pretty nice, and I love me some George Kittle. Now, DTM/Green says Jalen Hurts and Christian Watson for Mac Jones and Garrett Wilson. I'm going to go Jalen Hurts and Christian Watson there. I don't necessarily think it's close either, assuming Superflex. Greg says Superflex best ball format, tight end premium 12-team league. Dalton Schultz for a future second, third, and Trubisky. I'm taking Dalton Schultz. I mean, with Dalton Schultz, looking at the role that he should have in Dallas this upcoming season, it's really hard to fade Schultz at this moment. Okay, let's go ahead and let's just continue to slam wide receivers here. Do we want David Bell or Hamler? We'll make the tiebreaker. Someone said that there was positive news about Watson earlier today. I did not see any, but we're going to pretend like they are correct. And we are going to go ahead and take David Bell here, pick 172, I believe. What, as our 5th receiver? We have Jefferson, Smith, Renfrow, Sky Moore, Alec Pierce. No, so David Bell as our 6th wide receiver. Okay, so now let's go find our next question. This next one's going to be coming out from Squidly. Says, I have round 1, pick 2. So you have the 102 this year in a dynasty league. Do I take Kenneth Walker or a good rookie wide receiver? I personally prefer Drake London. I think you go Drake London over Kenneth Walker. The issue with Kenneth Walker is he doesn't catch the ball. So I think you are inherently going to see a ceiling capped. Talked about this before, but the scenario that I would be willing to go Kenneth Walker over one of these wide receivers is if you're playing in a non-PPR format, or if you're playing in a league that is a very shallow starting lineup. If you're playing in a league where you can only start 2 wide receivers and then 2 flex spots, or maybe you start 3 wide receivers and 1 flex, inherently the wide receiver position is going to be less valuable because the depth is not going to be required, and it's going to be so replaceable once you just get to that wide receiver 3 tier. But I'm assuming that you're going to be playing in a 12-team Superflex format that at least starts 10 options, and in that format, I would go London. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Tom says, 10-team Dynasty PPR, Hollywood Brown, Aaron Jones in the 101, or Amari Cooper, Michael Pittman, Antonio Gibson, and Cordell Patterson. Oh my gosh, I'm easily going Breece Hall here. I mean, here for breaking this down, give me Breece Hall over Michael Pittman, not close. Give me Hollywood Brown. I mean, give me Breece Hall over Michael Pittman, Antonio Gibson, and Cordell Patterson. Give me Hollywood Brown over Amari Cooper, and then you're just getting Aaron Jones for free. Hell yes. Go through and make that deal. I will say I'm a lot lower on Michael Pittman Jr. than other people are. I will admit that. I will admit that. Okay, so Shuey coming out says, I got an offer. I would be trading CMC, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce for Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, George Kittle, and the 103. Okay, so if we're breaking this down, I think we easily prefer Najee over CMC. The 103 and Deontay, give me the 103 and Deontay. Kittle and Kelce is in the similar ballpark. So yes, I would make this trade. Go get Najee, Deontay Johnson, George Kittle, and the 103, unless you're like a serious contender where you feel like you need to keep those points in your starting lineup. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's find our next question. It's coming out from Rylan. Says, how high would you take Pitts and Andrews in a 12-team Superflex tight end premium startup? Start only 9? Okay, if you're only starting 9 in a 12-team Superflex format, you firstly need to get those elite quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are going to have an insane amount of value. They make up 22, 23% of your starting lineup in that format. But beyond that, hell yes. We're going to go with, I'm going to take Kyle Pitts almost over Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson in that format in particular, just because you can't start that many wide receivers. On top of that, with Kyle Pitts, inherently is going to make up a higher percentage of your starting lineup overall. So I would be very interested in just going through and getting Pitts at the end of the first round, Andrews at the beginning of the second, but please make sure those elite quarterbacks are already off. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Luck is here. It says, would you trade Kupp for CeeDee Lamb in a future third in a 12-team Superflex format? If you're a rebuilding roster, have no shot to win this year, and you can't find a better package for Kupp, yes, I do think CeeDee Lamb will have more value than Cooper Kupp next offseason in Dynasty. Now, please don't throw things at me. Keep in mind, Cooper Kupp's going to be 30 years old next offseason, okay? So I'm not saying CeeDee Lamb's going to be any more productive than him anytime soon, but inherently the Dynasty community devalues those players, especially when they get to 30 years old, when they're on that cliff just with their age. So please just take it with your team direction. I would say most people, 99% of people watching this right now, are going to prefer Kupp over CeeDee Lamb in the third. So I would try to get a better deal, but if you can't, it's interesting. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Noah says, one quarterback PPR 12-team contender, which side are you going to favor? The 109, 202, and a 404, or A.J. Dillon, the 207, and the 307? I do think there's a decent drop-off between that 202 and the 207, because the 202, I think you can still get one of those wide receivers, whether that's Jahan Dotson or George Pickens. 107, you're going to be looking at the running back range like Tyler Algier. I don't think you're nearly as excited about that. So if we're breaking it down in that fashion, the 109 in a 10-team format, the 109 is going to be someone like Sky Moore, Christian Watson, Sky Moore, say Jahan Dotson. The 404 is complete trash, or A.J. Dillon and say Isaiah Spiller. I'd say a fair deal, my man. If you're a contender, I would understand just going ahead and taking A.J. Dillon and the upside that you would have if there was an Aaron Jones injury. And obviously, Dillon does have some long-term upside as well if this team decided to move on from Aaron Jones. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Dion says, a Waddle or T. Higgins in Dynasty? We answered this one earlier. I'll answer it again very quickly. We are going to prefer T. Higgins over Jalen Waddle in the Dynasty, and I'm not necessarily going to think twice about it either. Okay, so now let's go over and let's find our next question. This one's coming out from Adam. It says, a George Kittle for Mike Evans in a third. I also have Darren Waller. With Evans drafted in 2014, pushing 30 at this point of his career. Kittle drafted 2017, but very similar to Cooper Kupp, older than you would expect. Tight end premium format, I think we go Kittle. If it's a regular Dynasty League, non-tight end premium, I'd be fine if you wanted Evans. Mike says, I have the 101 and the 103 in our rookie draft. Going with Breece Hall at 1, would you go with Walker or Drake at 3 or someone else in a non-PPR Dynasty Auction League? Okay, so if it's going to be non-PPR, yes, you go Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, non-PPR. And then if it is also non-PPR, I think Drake London's your next best guy because I think London would have the highest touchdown upside out of anybody else in this class. Benjamin telling us we're going down in the flock 20 this year, Mason. It's about that time where I need to start looking over all my Dynasty teams and I need to start thinking, okay, this team right now only has Cordell Patterson at RB. We got to make a play. This team over here has J.K. Dobbins, Miles Sanders, and God knows what else. We got to make a play. So I'm about to have to pull up all those Dynasty teams and start sending out some trade offers. So if you are in a Flock Dynasty League, get ready. And this team, honestly, I know it looks gross on paper, but I think it does have a lot of upside. Let's go ahead. I'm hoping we get either one to John Mechie or Julio Jones. We're going to take 9 receivers with this build. We have so many rookies, though. I really don't want John Mechie. We already have 4 rookies on this roster. I'd really like Julio on this team. I think Julio could still sign with a contender. I mean, Julio Jones could end up signing with Green Bay. He could end up signing with Tampa. Of course, you're not going to get an entire season of Julio Jones. That definitely needs to be accounted for. But if we're looking at the wide receivers available here, it is what it is. Let's go ahead. Let's show this team off. We drafted from the 104. Jefferson, Devonta Smith, Hunter Renfrow, Sky Moore, Alec Pierce, David Bell, Wan'Dale Robinson, Will Fuller, and Julio Jones. Just need some spike weeks because everywhere else we are elite. We have Darren Waller, Cole Kmet. Running back, we have Chase Edmonds, Rashad Penny, Alexander Madison, Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Swift. Quarterback, we got Lamar and Jalen Hurts. So very happy about this team. And thank you, of course, for everybody being a part of the Flock Sport in the channel. We are going to keep it to 1 draft here because we're doing this every single day, okay? So I'm going to go eat some dinner right now. But thank you for being a part of the Flock. We're doing these live streams every single day. So if you've not done so already, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Link in the description, link in the live chat. Get ready to get into some drafts with us because if you don't, it'll be a long summer for you, my friends. It'll be a long, sad summer. But no, instead, it's going to be a fun summer. Go sign up for Underdog. Use a promo code FLOCK. Get a 100% deposit match. Get our Dynasty rankings and support this channel. But thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all and I hope you have a great day.